All right, welcome back to Melody Mapping. I am your host, Tara Shetty, and today I am joined by the talented musician, Sophia Skye. Sophia, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So I wanted to start off by just reading your bio so people can learn a little bit more about you. So I'm going to do that now. So Sophia Skye is a musician born and raised in Los Angeles. Her band, Cash and Sky, is an alternative country duo alongside Henry Cash, guitarist in the LA rock band Starcrawler. Their first single, No More Candy, was released on Third Man Records in 2021. Sophia is also a senior at Sarah Lawrence College, where she plays guitar in the New York based punk band Salamander, and she also hosts a radio show on WSLC called The Brine. Great. So I'm familiar with your music through Salamander, so I'm excited to finally get to speak with you. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's so cool.
Yeah, so I wanted to start off our discussion by just getting to know a little bit more about your music background and also how you ended up at Sarah Lawrence.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I've always kind of done music and done a lot of singing throughout my whole life. I grew up, my mom was always very much obsessed with a lot of early country female
Great.
vocalists. So I grew
Okay.
up with a lot of like Patsy Cline and Linda Ronstadt, Dolly Parton playing in the house,
Okay.
Emmylou Harris, stuff like that. So I feel like from a young age, I've just always loved girls that were, singing their heart out and belting in that traditional country style. And I don't know, I just feel like ever since I could talk, I've wanted to sing forever. And it wasn't until high school that I really started to get into guitar,
Okay.
which has become a much bigger part of my life now, especially at Sarah Lawrence. And in Salamander, which is a really fun place where I've really gotten to explore that a bit more. And now I play bass too, and I don't know, that was a really cool transition of going from just singing into playing instruments, which has been super fun.
Totally.
And yeah, I met Henry, who's my bandmate in my band Cash and Sky. We met in high school. And he was a musician doing his thing, and I was a musician doing my thing. And I don't know, ever since we've met, pretty much we've been making music. So for 6 years now, we've been working on this album that has yet to see the light of day. It's been a very slow, slow process, but we've been just kind of working on this album for so long, and just always making music together. And that
Great.
was really fun. And I feel like taught me how to, I don't know, how to be in a band, because I feel like that's a big hurdle, is like, how do I play
Hmm.
music with other people? Um,
Right.
and then coming to Sarah Lawrence, which I don't know, I ended up here because I didn't want to pick a major. I wanted to study whatever. I wanted to study music, Victorian literature. That's mainly what I do, but I also do like 2D animation. I don't know. It's true
Hmm.
Sarah Lawrence fashion to study everything. Um,
Great.
but
Yeah.
yeah. But then like forming Salamander was just through like jamming with some friends, meeting other people that love to play music. And that's been super duper fun too, because I feel like with my band back home, it's a lot of country stuff, which is, my heart and soul is in 60s country. But
Hmm.
it's fun to be in a punk band and just get to play
Yeah.
guitar, and go crazy and have college students moshing. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about little me.
Okay, great, great. And I mean, you were talking a little bit about like learning to be in a band, and I wondered maybe if you could expand a little bit on that. Like, what has been kind of your favorite moments of like growth through like playing in these bands?
Yeah, totally. Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the biggest hurdle is just like, again, like I've always sung and always felt the most confident singing.
Hmm.
But the biggest thing for me was feeling confident enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna be behind the guitar.
Right.
I don't know. That was the scariest part for me. I feel like also just like, I mean, we've heard again and again, like guitar playing is like such a male dominated industry. And so to like come into that and B, trying to join the jam can be sometimes a bit intimidating, especially when you're just learning. But I don't know, I
Right.
feel like I've just been very lucky to find people that were willing to work with me where I was at. And I don't know, I feel like that's the biggest hurdle, is just like finding other people that accept you where you are and are also learning alongside you and
Hmm.
aren't judging you. I don't know. Like allowing that
Exactly.
room for error, because I feel like the only way to get better at an instrument is by playing with other people consistently.
Hmm.
And so being able to be like, well, I'm just going to set aside this time. Like for Salamander, like we rehearse like 4 times a week, every week, yeah, that we're in college.
Nice.
So it's just like we're always going, even if there isn't a show. Um,
Yeah.
and I just feel lucky. I don't know, just like finding people that also want to devote that time. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't know, I feel like I've grown so much as a musician in that time, just being able to come into it. We started playing together around 3 years ago. So to come into it at a completely different level and being so scared to play electric guitar to now, I feel like my confidence has grown so much just by being around kind people that were accepting and didn't expect me to be perfect right away.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really special, especially like in college when everyone's a little insecure about stuff. But yeah.
Right. Amazing. I was wondering also, do you write most of the songs for both the bands, or how does that process work?
Yeah, I write a lot for my band back home, Cash and Sky. It's very much like a duo. So the way
Okay.
that we write is I'll typically bring in a song to Henry and be like, "This is something I'm noodling with," and then he'll just make it better, and then vice versa. So he'll bring in something, and then
Hmm.
I'll make it better. And then I don't know. I feel like we hardly ever sit down and are like, "Let's write a song together. Let's da da da." Like we both have like a kernel of an idea and then approach the other. So the album
Yeah.
that we're working on right now is very much like half of it was like started written by me, and then half of it was started written by him. So
Hmm.
that's really cool. And the single that we put out a couple years ago on Third Man Records, he kind of started out with No More Candy, which is the A side of that. And obviously, I workshopped it, whatever, worked together. But that was his kind of little kernel in the beginning. And then
Yeah.
Sniffing Wet Floors,
Nice.
the B side, was one that I more came in with the melody, came in with the lyrics, and then I don't know. Well, something that's really funny about Henry is that I feel like he thinks in a very different way than I do when it comes to lyrics. So sometimes I
Hmm.
find myself falling into the more literal sphere when I'm writing. But
Yeah.
he'll just come up with some crazy lyric that I never would have thought of in my entire life, and that's really fun. I don't know, it's fun to have someone that you're confident enough to like spin ideas off of.
Yeah. Bounce things off of. Totally.
Totally, yeah. And
Yeah.
then for Salamander, I've written quite a few of the songs that we've done for that too, but the way that we work is kind of similar to that vein. Like each of us will bring
Hmm.
in something. So like Aaron, who's the guitar player in that, will always like come in with a riff, and then typically like me and Corinna, who's the bass player, will be trying to
Okay.
figure out what's a melody we can do to this, and then it's very
Hmm.
much harmonious in that way. And same with like Dom bringing in stuff. Everyone kind of just, I don't know. I feel like that's the first time I've thought about that. That I don't know. All the bands I'm in tend to work in a similar way, where we will bring in either a riff that someone thought of in their own time and then bounce it off of each other. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's a really great way to work. So that's nice that you guys kind of found that with each other.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. And you said you've been working on this album for Cash and Sky for like quite a bit of time. I definitely know the feeling with like working on music projects that kind of get like stalled out with like school
Mhm.
and life and that kind of thing. What are, I guess, some of your like feelings on working on a body of work for that long, and how have things really like changed for you? Maybe feelings about certain songs you wrote really early, or things like that.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of the craziest part. So some of the stuff that we recorded that's going to be out on this album, I was 15 years old in
Wow.
there.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
literally like my little baby singing voice. And Henry
Hmm.
was 16, so his little baby singing voice. I don't know. So a lot of it just feels like we've captured us growing up in a way, which I feel like is really sweet. Even though sometimes I look back at the first stuff that we recorded when we were so young, kind of cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh, I feel better now, or like that lyric is really, really weird and young. I don't know. But also, that's kind of the beauty of it in a way, is that it captures that rawness and us truly like growing up together as a band, but also as people. But yeah, it is really, really funny to look back and listen and just hear
Yeah.
my voice from so long ago next to a song that was written like a month ago, you know? But yeah, that's been really fun.
And I know you perform a lot with Salamander on campus. Do you play a lot of shows off campus with both the bands as well?
Yeah, so definitely more so with Cash and Sky. I'm actually going to Canada next week. Um,
Exciting.
yeah, it's
Nice.
pretty crazy. We're playing in Edmonton, which I had never heard of before, but it's kind of near the Canadian Rockies. I'm really
Okay.
hoping that I'm going to see a moose or some sort of Canadian wildlife. I would love to see that. That'd be so awesome. But yeah, definitely more with Cash and Sky. We've done a lot of gigs. I mean, locally in LA, we've played a lot. We've gone to open for some cool people. We opened for this band called the Walkmen last year at the
Okay.
the Fonda Theater, which was super duper cool. And I'd grown up seeing shows at that theater my whole life, so that was a really special moment. And yeah, I don't know. We played some New York shows too, and now
Hmm.
Canada, very random.
Yeah.
But you take what you can get. I'm excited to go there, and it's right next to Jasper National Park, which is apparently like
Okay.
one of the most beautiful national parks in Canada. So hopefully we can make that stop. But yeah, Salamander's kind of remained a little bit just on the college campus scene, which is just it's just fun to play for college students. That's super fun. Very different audiences. I feel like Cash and Sky, since we're playing country music, doesn't really coincide with what's hip and cool right now.
With
So
the
there's not a
mosh
lot of
scene on. Yeah.
yeah, there's not a lot of young people typically in our crowds.
Mm.
But that's kind of what's fun about playing in Salamander, is that it's just a bunch of college kids moshing, which is something I've
Yeah.
never experienced before. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. We're gonna do some recording, I think next week actually, with our friend Ross
Great.
Spellman, who used to go to Sarah Lawrence.
Okay.
Um, so we're gonna go up to Connecticut, do some recording. We're also all about to graduate, so that's kind of a sad thing too, is that we've been
Hmm.
playing music pretty much throughout our whole Sarah Lawrence time, and now it's
Yeah.
kind of like the end of that, and everyone's going separate ways, which is very sad. But yeah, we're gonna try and get something recorded during this time that we have together.
Sweet. Sweet. Do you remember some of your like earliest shows with either your band or solo, and what was like the process of booking those shows or getting that first gig?
Cash and Sky, let me think. What was our first show? Oh, I remember. For Cash and Sky, our first show was at the Highland Park Ebell in Los Angeles, which is the neighborhood that I grew up in. So that was really, really
Okay.
cool. I don't really remember the process of booking that. That was through Sid the Cat, who's a booker in Los Angeles. They're really cool. And they're just really sweet, kind of homey people. So I feel
Hmm.
like that was maybe just through like friends, which I feel like is
Yeah.
typically the
Okay.
case in
Nice.
most cases, is just like
Hmm.
meeting nice people. I forget. I feel like maybe there was another reason we played that show, but it was their first show out of COVID. So it was back in 2021, I believe. And they were just, I think, excited to be putting on shows again. So maybe that's why they took a
Hmm.
chance on someone who'd never played a show before. Was because it was 2021 and they were like, we need to start throwing shows. It was all masked, everyone was masked up. But it was still so much fun. Yeah, I feel like that was the first show that we did. I mean, I don't know. My whole life, I've kind of been playing shows, very little shows. Like I used to just play on like street corners and stuff with my dad. Played a hair salon once. I don't know, just
Nice.
very random stuff. I feel like just
Hmm.
through, yeah, meeting nice people, and then of course like being in LA where everyone is just super encouraging of music.
Hmm.
It's such a unbelievable privilege, is being able to just always be surrounded by other people doing music. So I
Right.
think that that's the biggest thing, is just my hometown being very, very accepting. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and kind of, I mean, going off of that with just meeting nice people and friends and connections,
Mhm.
what has been your kind of like experience with networking? Is it kind of, I mean, you're talking about LA, it seems like it was kind of a natural kind of flow with just moving out into doing music.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've made this joke so many times with my friends, but I feel like the biggest form of nepotism within the like entertainment or music industry is simply like being born and raised in LA. Because through that you just meet so many people. Like you're just in high school and you meet like so and so's daughter, it's just all these
Hmm.
crazy people, which is just like insane. So like even if you don't come from anything, like just by meeting people, um it's truly so crazy. Like just seeing like the opportunities that some of my friends have gotten, like just through like high school, which is just so bizarre. I don't know. I mean, truly, I feel like it has to do with community more than anything. And
Hmm.
I'm not, well, I don't know. I feel like growing up, I was not very extroverted. I was very introverted. So like meeting people has always been very hard for me, and like that networking thing. I don't know. It's just always been hard for me to like approach new people. But I feel like meeting someone like Henry, who like didn't come from like nepotism, like music stuff. Like his family is obviously musicians, but I don't know, like he's very much self-made in that regard and truly just met everyone that he knows through being a kind-hearted, awesome person.
Hmm.
And like I don't know, having someone like that in your life really shows you just how special it is to just like have those meaningful connections. I mean, like he's in a band called Starcrawler, and Arrow, the lead singer of that band, met him in the hallway of high school and just said, "You look cool.
Wow.
Do you play guitar?" Because he was carrying a tuba case. As the
Hmm.
story goes. He was carrying a tuba case because he played tuba, and she was just like, "Hey, do you play guitar?" Like, just had never met before. And we kind of had a similar story of us meeting as well. It was just like yet on the high school quad, just thought he looked
Uh-huh.
cool. Um, and yeah, just I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's just like even at Sarah Lawrence though, there's such a community of musicians. So like I feel like it
Totally.
doesn't even have to be in LA. Just the best thing for making meaningful connections within the music industry is just making friends and being confident in like putting yourself out there because you never
Hmm.
know like who's in your corner. You never know. But also, just it's fun to play music, and it's fun to play
Yeah.
music with like-minded people. And again, that kind of goes back to being like giving yourself room for error a little bit,
Hmm.
because I'm not the best musician by any means at all, but I would go absolutely insane if I wasn't playing music all the time. So I don't know. I feel like it's such a job like born out of necessity. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I feel that for sure.
yeah, totally.
For sure. So you're in two bands. You're a student. I was wondering if you could talk about just kind of some of the ways you like stay organized and maybe like stay calm and that kind of thing amidst all the chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've always been the type of person that the more stuff I have on my plate, the more motivated I am to do all of that stuff. Because if I
Great.
don't have,
That's a great way to be.
I guess so. But like, if I don't have a ton of stuff on my plate making me so unbelievably stressed, I will just be so sedentary. Like, I will just bed
Mm,
rot forever and like do nothing. Um, so like the way that I get out of that is I just keep myself so unbelievably busy, which is
okay.
good and a little crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this year too, since it's my senior year, I'm taking a much lighter like coursework load, and I'm
Okay.
mainly with professors I've like taken before, doing an independent study. So I very much I only have class twice a week. Um, I very
Mm,
much
okay.
made my schedule like built around being able to have more time to play music, while also getting a degree. So that's been really important to me is just like managing my time and also carving out that time to
Right.
prioritize music at the same time as my education. I feel like that's kind of been something that I don't know, like has been weighing on my mind a lot. It's just like feeling like I'd have to compromise one part of myself, in order to like be successful in music. I couldn't, do this or, vice versa. I couldn't get my degree and do this as well. But I feel like, I don't know, just I've put them both as a priority in my life. I
Hmm.
mean, I've turned down some like tours and stuff like that, because for me getting my degree is really, really important. I don't know, but I never wanted to prioritize one over the other. So the reason I get to go to Canada is because I only have class twice a week. So I can take a little weekend away to play a show. When I was looking at the course catalog for like at Sarah Lawrence, I always am like, okay, what classes only meet once? And then I pick those classes. So it's very strategic so that I can do both things. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's how I manage it. It's just a lot of like
Okay.
careful planning and
Hmm.
just carving out the time in my schedule. I'm a crazy Google Calendar fiend. I'm
Oh yeah, I'm
crazy
right there
about
with you.
schedules. Yeah, so just carving out the time for both priorities in your life is kind of how I manage that.
Yeah, that's great that you've been able to do that because that's definitely a big struggle for a lot of music creatives and just creatives in general is deciding whether college is the right fit, and it's very much about like can you balance the two kind of pursuits there. So
Totally,
it's
for
great.
sure.
Yeah. Kind of like on a similar note, but um, more to do with artistic projects. What's your relationship with like the planning stage of an artistic project? Do you find it's easy to kind of move forward and put things into action, or do you get kind of like caught up in things? Or
Um, I I don't know. I have this issue where I'll make something and then never show it to anyone and just hide it away forever. Which is evident why I've been making an album for 6 years. I don't know. I will make something and then even complete it and just then I'm like get in my head about being a perfectionist and I'm like, oh, it's still not good enough. Like I can't put it out. And that goes for like all the artistic pursuits in my life. Like I've this is actually crazy. I've recently been writing a book and I've
Oh
been
wow,
kind of just
okay.
like feverishly writing. I'm a crazy, this is something not a lot of people know about me. I'm a crazy fantasy nerd, like Game of Thrones, books, Lord of the Rings. I love all that stuff.
Nice.
So just like a couple months ago, I just was like, I'm gonna write down my little world, and I've just been like spiraling on my computer. And every time anyone asks to see what I'm doing, I just am like, no, no one will ever see this. Like even if I have like 300 pages of something, like this is just for my own posterity. I'm not going to show this to anyone. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice about making and sharing an artistic project because I'm
Or
just
is
so bad at sharing what I've done. Yeah, that's definitely a hurdle I need to get over is being more confident in that something I've made, could have value
Mhm.
beyond just making myself happy and entertaining myself. And I don't know, I feel like music is definitely, I've gotten more and more confident as I've gotten older. So that's nice. But in terms of just like art in general, I don't know about other fields as much. But also, yeah, I don't really plan. I feel like for like artistic stuff, I mean, again, evident 6 years working on an album. Like there's just been like, oh, it'll come out when it comes out. We'll see what happens. But also kind of waiting for like me to graduate because that's like a big deal. It's kind of
Totally.
hard to while I've been able to like do both at the same time, I haven't been able to like fully devote myself to music while I've been here. Like I can't just be like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going away for 2 months on a tour. Like that would just be which is kind of like what is expected when you put out an album is to be playing a bunch of shows, and to like try and market yourself. And nowadays it's like post on TikTok and like I don't know all that
Yeah.
crazy stuff. Yeah, marketing yourself is so scary. That's another thing. TikTok is so horrifying to me. I've like tried to be like, this is my song and this is me doing the thing to my song, and then it gets like 2 views and you just feel horrible about yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
It
That's
is
definitely that's something else I wanted to talk about with you as well as just like social media and self-promotion. So seems like it's not your favorite thing.
I just feel like
um
I'm bad at like self-promoting. And it's just like it feels
mhm.
unnatural.
I
Um
same experience. It's rough. Yeah.
but also it's like so necessary because like
Hmm.
everything that is big right now has gone viral in some way. And like also I just kind of learned this like a lot of people pretty much the only way to like get signed to a record label these days is by going viral somehow, which is just like it's such a different culture I feel like than I don't know, even a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've like tried making the TikTok stuff, but it's just hard. It just feels so weird. And if you're not posting like every day, no one's going to see your stuff. And I feel like, I don't know. I don't know how to make content for every day. That's so scary. Hopefully I'll get better. I've like texted my friends a couple times like, hey guys, like, could you guys make a TikTok to my song? And it just feels so awkward to say that, but also like it's kind of the only way people are going to hear your stuff nowadays. But
Yeah. Do you feel like maybe is it any easier like on Instagram, or is it just kind of overall?
I feel like maybe it's easier on Instagram, weirdly. I found that Instagram is a bit more kind towards musicians. I feel like
Mhm.
TikTok, if you ever post anything, like everyone is just so mean. But
Yeah.
I have found that Instagram, maybe it's just because like I know Instagram better and it feels safer because I've been on there since I was like in fifth grade. And
Yeah.
TikTok is like this new weird crazy thing. But I don't know. I've found that the comments on Instagram tend to be a bit nicer than the
Mhm.
TikTok world, but I don't know. That could just have to do with like comfortability.
Totally. And you were talking a bit about like record labels and getting signed and that kind of thing. Um, is that a goal for you to try to get signed, or are you more hesitant with that situation?
See, that's the age old question. And that's
Yeah,
what we've
yeah.
been wrestling a lot with lately. Because, like, obviously, it'd be great to put out something on a record. I mean, we put out our single on Third Man Records, which was such a fun experience. Everyone that works there is like the sweetest people alive, and they're so unbelievably great to work with. But for this album, like we're just not sure. I mean, it's hard to again like sell a country album nowadays that isn't like modern country. It's like, oh, this is
Hmm.
based on like '60s country. It's not the most sellable thing. So we've done some shopping. It seems like it's definitely not the top priority for record labels, but who knows? But also, I mean, we're down to also just independently put it out.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, especially nowadays, sometimes that is the more like, in terms of money, like lucrative option.
Hmm.
That's because labels do take a percentage of the money
Right.
that you earn. So I don't know. We'll see. It could honestly go any way. I'm open to any situation. If we're just putting it out ourselves, great, awesome. If we find a label that is stoked to put this record out, then that would be amazing too. But yeah, it's a lot of just like luck and chance and like seeing who like believes in what you're doing, which can be the
Hmm.
hardest thing too, is that you could get an amazing offer, but do they actually like believe in your success? That hasn't happened to me, but it's just like from like friends' experiences, like you could get something so incredible, but do they actually believe in you? I'm very open to whatever course takes place. And also I feel like since I've been like just in school, it's kind of like pushed on the back burner of like
Hmm.
we're gonna put this out. But now that I'm graduating, hopefully the wheels are going to start turning a little bit faster. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
excited either way.
Nice. And kind of moving on, I wanted to know like what's been your experience with things like burnout and writer's block? Is that something you have experience with?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like yes, definitely. I will go through periods where like I never want to write a song ever again in my life. I will go through periods where like I don't want to play any music and I just want to like sit and do something completely different. And then there'll be
Hmm.
a period of time, like a month, where I'm writing like 10 songs. I don't know. I feel like I don't have a good advice because it's just kind of fueled by my own craziness of like when I feel like I need to, I don't know, I get that like obsessive like bug bite, like that urge to be like, oh, I need to get
Hmm.
all this out right now. So I don't know if I have like a concrete answer. I feel like I'm still looking for that myself. Like what fuels
That's
that?
fair.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just periods of time where I need to be doing something else, and then periods of time where
Hmm.
the only thing I can do is write a song. And even if it's like the worst song ever, I feel like that might actually be good advice. Is like allowing yourself to write bad songs.
Hmm.
I mean, I've heard that quote. I think Beck said that because Beck is like an artist that's always like consistently putting out a lot of music, and I think he said that for every one song that he writes that's good, there's 100 bad ones, and that was like a big deal for me hearing that because yeah, I get that. Like, not every song you write and finish and feel like is the best song ever is going to be that at all. I
Yeah.
don't know. Again, like I keep saying this, but like allowing yourself a little bit of grace and room for error when
Hmm.
you're working. because I feel like I'm just like telling myself that through this because I'm such a perfectionist and like I won't put something out unless it's like exactly perfect, like exactly how I want it. Um, but yeah, I feel like I need that advice a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trust
Yeah.
yourself. Not everything you make is going to be a masterpiece, but that's okay. That's part of the process.
Hmm. Do you find that like taking a break maybe from like songwriting and working on some of your other creative pursuits, like writing your book or something totally unrelated, does that kind of maybe help you come back around to songwriting or just like refresh you in any way?
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like
Uh-huh.
it's such a different section of my mind, weirdly.
Okay.
I mean, like a lot of people have asked me too about like poetry stuff because I write a lot of
Hmm.
humor poetry as well and study
Nice.
poetry in school. And I feel like people have been like, oh, like, do you write songs the same way you write poetry? And to me, it's so unbelievably different. Like, it's not even within the
Mm.
same like frame of mind in any way.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. Maybe that's what it is like allowing myself some time to do something else totally bonkers, like write a epic fantasy novel, and go back to writing rock songs. Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Cool. uh, you're mentioned you're graduating soon, which is amazing. Congrats.
Thank you.
And I was wondering if you are currently planning or pursuing any other like musical or non-musical revenue streams, and how you're kind of planning to balance those with your main like artistic project.
Yeah, totally. So I mentioned that Henry, who I play with in Cash and Sky, he's in another band called Starcrawler. And
Mm-hmm.
typically, what I've done the past couple of summers is I'll go on tour with them and sell merch whenever I have the time. So I think
Great.
I'm gonna do a bit of that this summer. I love being merch girl. It's so much fun. And being on tour with them is just the best. They're the best people alive. So that's always the best. So I'm excited for
Hmm.
that. And then yeah, album stuff, figuring all that wonky, businessy, crazy stuff out, seeing what we're gonna
Right.
do with it. Hopefully put it out this year, maybe next year. We'll see. Very up in the air. But it's there. We've made it. So that's kind of a big
Yay.
like weight off the shoulders is that it is like
Totally.
done. We've like recorded it. So it's there. It's just about all the other cogs in the machine at this point.
Hmm.
But that's very exciting. And then in terms of just like life after graduation, right now I'm gonna look at grad school is like very much in the back of my brain, but you know, maybe one
Okay,
day.
cool.
Because
Uh-huh.
I've always kind of had this dream of like teaching one day, like being a literature professor or even like English teacher. But the beauty of that, of being a teacher, is that you can do that much later in life. So that's kind of just on the back burner for now, but a
Hmm.
possibility. But for now, I really want to work at a bookstore. So when I go home, I'm going to be a merch girl, and then after I get home, try and be a bookseller and work at a bookstore. And
Yeah, that's also like my ideal job, as I'm always like in my mind manifesting a bookstore job. Like,
exactly, yeah, it
yeah,
just sounds like the
yeah.
best job ever. I mean, I've worked in like waitressing and in restaurants and hosting and all that stuff. Like those have been the jobs that
Hmm.
have kind of gotten me through high school and college, is waitressing jobs. And I
Yeah,
just I can't do it anymore. Yeah, I
that's
just
fair.
I take everything so personal. So like if someone is like mean to me, like I just like break down. It's not I don't have the thick enough skin to keep working in restaurants, which is a bummer because they're a good job for making some dough and getting you
Hmm.
through college, but I need to not do that anymore. So I'm gonna try and like be surrounded by like old ladies that are looking for like the Canterbury Tales or something. I'm like so stoked. That's the dream, is to just like point people in the right direction of books. So
Hmm.
hopefully
Yeah.
that's the direction that things are going, is just music and books.
Sounds solid to me. I was a hostess for a summer, and that was truly like one of my worst work experiences ever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
scary. It's
it
it's scary
is.
how mean people can get when their table isn't ready, and you're just like,
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
not gonna die. Like I don't know how to help you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, kind of moving on to the next topic.
Mhm.
It's great with technology as it is. You can right now it's making being a musician a lot more like accessible for people. But there's also kind of pressure to be a jack of all trades.
Mhm.
Do you feel that pressure, and like how are you kind of navigating that?
Like in terms of like the social media sphere or like just in general?
I mean, kind of everything. I mean, instrumentally, songwriting, music production, promoting yourself, and yeah, just all the things, especially as an independent artist. So,
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely feel that for sure. I mean,
hmm.
also, not to like go into this territory of like woman in music, but like there is kind of that added pressure when you are like a girl in the
Oh
music
yeah,
world
yeah.
of like having to be perfect at every single thing that you touch,
Hmm.
which is like a big thing. I don't know. And also just like that, the world of like, yeah, I don't know. Self producing these days is a huge thing. I mean, it's so easy to just like have a laptop and get Pro Tools and, have an interface and just work on that. But I do feel like I don't know, a lot of like girls in the industry don't get taken as seriously in terms of that. Um,
Hmm.
because again, I feel like a broken record, but like there is less room for error for girls in the music industry, honestly. Like that's the honest truth
Yeah.
is that like if you are not like perfect, it like I don't know, just like when you're like scrolling through your Instagram reels and there's like those girls and they're like looking really cute and they have like their bass and then all the comments are
Yeah.
these dudes being like, your tone sucks, like get this pedal, it's just like the worst, like meanest dudes ever. And
Hmm.
that like those guys have never touched a guitar in their life, or if they have, like
Right.
probably sound so much worse. I don't know. I've noticed that a lot, which has kind of fueled like my own personal embarrassment of like self-promoting myself because I'm like, oh well, if
Mm.
this isn't perfect, like I'm just gonna be viewed as like, that girl on the Instagram reel that like sings country but fake, I don't know, just like her tone is so bad. Like, I don't know. It's a whole world of that. Which I feel like I don't know. I have to get over that. I have to not take that personal because people are going to be keyboard warriors no matter what.
Right.
People are always going to have something not nice to say, no matter who you are. Not just like girls in the industry, but like everyone.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely is that pressure to be like the jack of all trades, to be good at everything that you do, and self promoting. Oh my gosh, like such a
Yeah.
whole other can of worms. Or
I mean, a job description, like promoting people, and it's
yeah,
thrown onto artists. And it's like, how do you deal with this
yeah,
along with
no, it's
everything
true. Like
else?
I like record labels nowadays are like sending emails being like, all right, so these are the top TikTok trends. So if you want to do this dance, and that's like the promoting stuff nowadays, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like I've seen that on my TikTok page. Like I don't know, it just feels so odd that that's like the advice now. Is like, okay, make this TikTok dance, go,
Hmm.
like, and that's how you promote your music.
Right.
I don't know. It's just weird. It just feels silly.
Do you do anything like music production and in that realm, or
So
any of the tech stuff?
not really. I'm not
Okay.
very tech savvy within that world. I wish that I was more. But yeah, no. I mean, Henry he's done a lot of our stuff. So he like records all the time and is very, very tech savvy and knows all that stuff. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of along for the ride. I mean, through like being surrounded by that, I've picked up on a lot of stuff. And I did
Hmm.
actually take a class at Sarah Lawrence that was supposed to be learning about how to use Pro Tools. But since it was over
Okay.
Zoom during COVID time, we
Hmm.
never ended up even opening the application, and it turned into like songwriting
No.
class. And I was like, well, I
Okay.
wanted to learn, but yeah. So my knowledge is not the best. But luckily, I have people in my life that can do that for me, which is very nice.
Totally, totally. Right. And I was kind of wondering, are there any specific artists or bands, or I mean, also just non-musical people whose like career arcs that you really admire?
Oh, totally. So many. I mean, who like first pops into my mind is Gillian Welch is a musician that I've kind of always admired.
Hmm.
I mean, ever since I was a kid, her albums have just always been my favorite. They were like the road trip songs that my mom would play, and I would like just sing along at the top of my lungs in the car. Um, and she's just a great, someone that's kind of doing what I always wanted to do, like doing country stuff, but not following like the modern pop country production side of
Uh-huh.
things, and like sticking true to the roots of the music. And I feel like her stuff and her with David Rawlings, who's the guitar player that she plays with, like them as a duo, 1000% influence me and Henry as a duo and Cash and Sky. They're just such a great example of, doing that. And they sound incredible. And Gillian's voice is like magic to me. I think she's amazing. And her songwriting is so incredible. I mean, Everything is Free is such an amazing song, but also other songs in that album, the Revelator, so good.
Hmm.
I love the song Dear Someone. That's probably my favorite of recent years. But yeah, so that's someone I really, really admire that's like currently working. I mean, Linda Ronstadt I'll always love, even though she's not
Or
singing
yeah.
anymore. Just she was such a big inspiration for me. And like my grandma loves her so much. So like that's really special. I'm trying to think of who else. I like a lot of like rock stuff too. And like 90s rock. I've been getting really into like
Hmm.
the Smashing Pumpkins lately, weirdly. I don't know.
Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
feel like I had a really weird belated grunge phase in my life because I grew up my parents were just very in like the indie scene, like that was what they would
Hmm.
play. So my mom would play like country music, but also like the Pixies and Elliott Smith. And that was like what was on in the house, Bright Eyes, stuff like that. So I grew up
Okay.
very, very indie, 90s indie, but not so much on like the grunge side of things. And so like I kind of just recently discovered how amazing Nirvana is, like so much
Hmm.
later in life. Like I feel like when you're like 12, you have your Nirvana phase and you realize it's so good. But I was like 21 being like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, I don't know. I know Nirvana, of course. Like, you can't live and not know Nirvana. But to be like, I don't know, just in my adult life and like discover just how truly great they are. And I don't know, I read
Hmm.
Dave Grohl's book, so good. Um, yeah, so that's kind of been fun is discovering that. But yeah, I mean, kind of what I was saying, like indie is what I grew up with. So like Elliott Smith,
Okay.
I love Elliott Smith so much. He's been my top artist on Spotify for 5 years in a row.
Nice.
So a lot of Elliott Smith in my life. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, those are kind of the big heavy hitters that I can think of off the top of my head.
Great. Great. Nice. So, I think we're kind of wrapping up the interview here, but I just wanted to see, we talked about your album and your
Mhm.
upcoming show in Canada, but I just wanted to know if there was maybe anything else you wanted to share or promote just to wrap it up here.
Yeah, I mean, you can listen to my single, the Cash and Sky single. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's all those places. No More Candy is what it's called. So you can
Amazing.
stream
Yeah.
that. That would be awesome. You could make a TikTok to it. That would be great. We could get that viral. That'd be pretty sick. So if you want to make a line dance, I've actually been thinking about that. I want to make like a line
Ooh.
dance to it because there's
Okay.
actually a line dance is going viral right now on TikTok, and I was like, what? Um, so I don't know, maybe something like that. But yeah, just stream music. That's kind of it. And then album soon, undisclosed
Nice.
time, but album soon coming.
Stay
Who knows
tuned.
when? Yeah, stay tuned.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was really
Yeah,
nice
thanks for
talking to
having
you.
me. Yeah, this was so
Yeah.
much fun. Thanks for having me on the show.